very controversial. Madam Esther Passari, you sit in Parliament, and you saw the problems that were there. So the proposal from the public was that, why don't we do these reforms 18 months before the election, so that we have time to canvass these issues? That was another matter that came from that discussion. Okay? Then there was the issue of validity to presidential elections, what we find in Article 140 of the Constitution of Kenya. When we compete in an election, there'll be a winner and a loser. But somebody who has not been declared has a right to petition through Supreme Court. That's what that article provides. But it says within 14 days, the court will hear and determine that matter. The people at Bomas, where His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka was co-chairing with Kimani Ichung'wah, was supposed to be here, said that increase the timelines from 14 to at least 21. That will inform amendment of the provisions of Article 140 when the people decide to do so. Funding of IBC was an issue. The public said they must have enough money to enable them to do their job. And then there were issues of holding elections different dates. Some people have the view that you stagger them. Some people have the view that you do them after 7 years. But again, that's an issue of referendum. When the people of Kenya decide, you and the many who are not here, that's how you want it, you will do that. Security of officials, you saw last election, there are returning officers who died, one in Embakasi East, others somewhere, some were being beaten. What do we do to protect our electoral system? We first also must secure the lives of our electoral officers, and the people of Kenya were very clear about that. Campaign financing, the proposal was such that once the IBC is in place, within 1 year, they submit to Parliament, where Honorable Wandai and Esther Passari sit, and Shakila, SG, karibu sana, to look at those campaign financing regulations so that we can also encourage transparency in our campaign system, particularly on the politics side. Now, there are outstanding issues, and people have been asking me, every time I appear for my political side, and they ask me, you told us that you are going to address the issue of cost of living. That was in Article 43, right to food, health, education. And our tax expert who took us through the budget, the finance bill, demonstrated that actually the reason why the people of Kenya must reject that bill if it is not amended is because it affects the core issues that are touching on the rights of Kenyans in Article 43. Food, talking about bread, health, and all those things. So this was an issue that was canvassed at Bomas. However, the panelists there agreed to disagree. And I'm sure His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka knows that, for example, the Azimio side gave proposals on how this could be done. The other side said, you know what, they are the government, they can address that. Again, that was an issue that was canvassed. Okay? Then there was an issue on, just want to go very fast in the interest of time, 2/3 gender rule. The President, Honorable Ruto, formed a multi-sectoral working group. While this was being canvassed at Bomas, there was a team that was also looking at how do we ensure that we have got gender equality, particularly on the 2/3 gender. You know, in electoral, there's what we call the general principles of electoral system that demands of us that in any elective public body, there shall not be not more than 2/3 gender, 2/3 of the same gender. That issue, I don't know if you look at the cabinet today, I don't know. It's not elective, but it's appointive. If you look at the parliament, I don't know whether you see 2/3 gender. But the answer, you have it. So that was an issue that was concerned. But the recommendation was such that from the multi-sectoral group be part of the we call NADCO report, and that report has been submitted to Parliament. On issues of governance and national unity, the people said that in this country, we are not united, right from employment, appointment, and many so. There are people in this country who believe that they are not even in Kenya. Some of them came to Bomas and they said, we want our own counties, we want our own constituencies, but those are issues that were canvassed, and it informed our legislation guidelines on how to impeach a governor or a deputy governor. You have seen, but the only issue that has been on this impeachment that we have seen so far is how they impeach the governors. We have not seen how they impeach the cabinet secretaries, even though some of them should have been impeached like yesterday. Okay? And Parliament constitutes National Assembly and the Senate. However, there's another legislative assembly called IALA. Their members also submitted views, and Kenyans agree with them, and that's why it forms part of the report, that there is need to provide recognition of such representatives from IALA. So that again was an issue that was canvassed, and Kenyans say they would want to see that happen. Of course, on fidelity to political parties, I've talked about that, and I'm sure Madam Registrar will be talking more about it because she's the custodian of all the political parties. Then there was electoral disputes. Now, this is important. National Government Constituency Development Fund and NGAF. Yes. Kenyans believe come from, whether it is the county constituency, they have benefited so much from these funds. But those who came to Bomas said that so that we progress as a country, so that we have a functioning fund that is going to ensure development in their constituency, we must constitutionalize those funds, including Senate Oversight Fund. That was part of the report. And I'm sure where you are, you have been engaging a member of parliament, maybe you want bursary, you want schools, you want what, all those things were canvassed, okay? Other than that, there was the need to establish by statute, through Article 207, what we call Ward Development Fund. Kevin Osido works very well with county governments. And when you talk to the MCAs, some of them are here, they'll tell you that as representatives of the people at the ward level, by the way, the ward is the smallest unit of development in this country. And Speaker, I think you agree with me, because it is only at the ward that the MCA actually knows all the households, because they are not very many as compared to the constituencies. But we are saying the people of Kenya want enhanced development, but from Ward A to Ward B, there's roads, your kids go to the next school, you have a market there, you have a hospital, such that we shall have achieved an equalized country where all the, is it 2,000 developed. Issue from Bomas, where the people believed that after election, people are fought in this country. But they also believe that those who are lucky to get into office and form government, they need a checkmate. A checkmate. The opposition. And the people of Kenya, an establishment of an office called Office of the Leader of Official Opposition. The leader of that office, from Bomas, the recommendation was such that should be the leader of the largest party, not the second largest election, or by that party or coalition to be the leader. Why the people of Kenya say that is because our elections are very competitive. But you realize that after the election, you have people out there who, once they get into office, they might not really be interested in listening to the public. So what they do what they have been doing, and you know what they've been doing. I'm being told that I have to finish. As I finish, Osido, there was one more issue on the judiciary that recommended recognizing some of these courts, like the labor and employment court, as part of the High Court. I'm not sure if that was addressed, but it was a recommendation. And lastly, when the IBC finishes this, there was an issue of concurrence. Consultation prior to appointment of the commissioners. The people said, because we are political, such consultations must only happen between the two major political players who represent the two formations before appointment. I don't know how it goes, but as I said, as I finish, you are the people, you give your views, and this public participation is a continuous process. So far, only one bill has gone through, the IBC. So what I would encourage you as the public, when Parliament publishes these bills from NADCO that will be going under public participation again, please do participate. Now that you have the knowledge and this bill is public, these bills are public, the report is public, go through it, comb through it, and give your views. Otherwise, I thank you so much.
Asante sana. Asante sana Bwana Okango. Kabla utoke hapo, tafadhali tuelezee, tuko na sheria zilizopendekezwa, right? Ni 9. Umesema ya kuwa ni moja pekee ndio ishafikisha sehemu ambao sasa inatakikana iwe sheria. Which are the other 8 bills? I don't know whether you mentioned that. Which are the other 8 bills?
I did mention that actually.
Oh, okay. If you did, then that's fine.
I did mention that.
Thank you. Tumpigie Bwana Okango makofi mazuri. Thank you so much, Fred. And it is important to note that we invited Dr. Fiankolu Mudhomi from the Technical Committee of Kenya Kwanza, and also Professor Adams Olo. Both of them are aware about this meeting, the conversations. Professor Adams traveled last night out of the country and asked Bwana Okango to sit in for him. And Dr. Fiankolu was unable to make it. And so we requested Bwana Okango, having been part of this process, to assist in making that presentation. And I hope that has been quite clear, isn't it? Kwa hivyo mmeweka maswali ziko karibu tena ziko tayari vizuri. So when I say amka, mnasema stay woke, not stay woke. Eh? Stay woke, like you wake up, uchangamke, you take action. Amka, amka. Nikisema stay woke, you say amka. Are we together? Of course, I had my very good friend Diana talking about Vijana Oye, and we have members who are elected here. They know how to do that very well. But for us to be able to take charge of the ongoing processes, it is important that as citizens and the public, we also have our own anthem. So can we do it again? Amka! Amka! Stay woke! Stay woke! May I take this opportunity to invite the minority leader in the National Assembly, Mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi, to also come and make some comments. Mheshimiwa, you are part of that particular process. What is the space of the citizens?
Yeah, the space of the citizen. Actually, the citizen has a special space in all this. Let me start by acknowledging my leader, His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, my colleagues, na wananchi watukufu. Hamjambo? Amka! Amka! Stay woke! Brief. And I want to pick it up from where Okango has left. But first and foremost, let me say thank you to the organizers of this wonderful conference. When I got the invitation to this conference and I came to learn that this is a citizens' dialogue conference about topical issues, I said I will have to come in person. And that is why I am here. I am extremely delighted that the citizens themselves have turned up in their numbers. And that's a demonstration, Kevin, of the importance and the significance that is attached to this event. Before I briefly touch on NADCO, let me talk about what is most critical. What is in the minds of every Kenyan as we speak, which is about taxation and budget. Taxation and budget. As we speak, the Budget Committee of the National Assembly is winding up its sessions. They concluded public hearings yesterday on the budget, 2024-2025 budget. They are today engaged in what we call in parliamentary parlance budget negotiations. That's where they're doing the horse trading, okay? So the question what we want to ask, where is the place of the citizen in that horse trading? We assume that the members of parliament who are in that committee are representing the citizens. So that is an assumption we must have in our mind. I am also aware that the committee that is dealing with the taxes, the Committee on Finance, is also undertaking public participation. Public participation. But let me start with the budget, because a lot has been said. But in summary, what I think is ailing this country, just like it does in most of the we have refused to cut our cloth according to our size. So we keep on year in, year out, Your Excellency, developing budgets which we cannot possibly finance. That is the root cause of this overtaxation. Diana. Yes, the moment you have got an unrealistic budget with gaping holes, with serious budget deficits, you must look for money. Okay? And that is what has come to define this regime. The regime that has now been in power for the last 2 years. It is a regime that has now become synonymous with overtaxation, because it has refused to develop a reasonable budget. That is where we are. And therefore, if you look at the taxes they are now proposing, and I'm also told that some of them are a red herring. They will be dropping some of them because they are simply trying to test. To speak before I digress further, we are being treated to some shenanigans, some charade, some artificial differences within the regime that is ruling. You hear those differences they are talking about. Those are diversionary tactics, so that citizens can stop focusing on these punitive taxes. Kenyans are not bothered who is right or wrong within Kenya Kwanza. That is their problem, okay? But Kenyans are overly concerned about rising taxation, the ever-rising taxes that affect their daily lives at a personal level. So these taxes, some of them are actually laughable. Because if you propose to tax vehicles, and you know vehicles are very expensive to own. First and foremost, you buy them very expensively. And then you want to introduce new taxes on vehicles which have already been bought by vehicle users. And yet you know some of these vehicles are tools of work. Kenyans buy vehicles as tools of work. Many Kenyans. Okay? Take, for example, the commercial vehicles. They are tools of work. They are business tools. You are simply trying to say that you want to make business as expensive as possible. The end loser is the common citizen. The common citizen. Because the cost of doing business, once it rises, the business persons must pass it to somebody. And it's the common person. So that tax, that particular tax, must be rejected. And we shall stand firm to ensure that it does not see the light of the day. I heard some of my colleagues in parliament say that if you don't want to pay the vehicle tax, then leave your vehicle at home or stop buying a vehicle. You know, that is the height of insensitivity. The height of insensitivity. Take the issue of the tax on bread. There is a good reason why bread has all this time been zero rated. Very good reason. Then you wake up one morning, you want to introduce 16% VAT on bread. You are simply telling Kenyans that they are on their own. And not forgetting that these are in addition to the 2023 taxes that have continued to choke the ordinary mwananchi. We haven't forgotten the tax on fuel, the infamous tax on fuel. We haven't forgotten the forced tax on housing that is choking people who are working. So in addition to all punitive taxes, you are introducing new ones. Madam Dana very well in dealing with that, so I don't want to belabor. I don't want to belabor. So then, what do we do? My appeal to Kenyan citizens is to remain vigilant. Is to remain vigilant. Even though you have elected your representatives in parliament, don't abdicate your cardinal and patriotic responsibility of remaining vigilant and holding the government, including those that you have elected, to account. That cardinal responsibility cannot be taken away from you. Because ultimately, as our constitution decrees, the ultimate power is vested in you. Ultimate power. So in this journey, I want to plead that we work together with Kenyans, even as we battle out with the Kenya Kwanza regime on this matter of budget and taxation. Coming back to the NADCO, because I want to be very brief. You know, NADCO did not just come as a by the way. I remember last year, to be exact, on the 13th of April, we were here. We came here to engage with the civil society as members of Azimio. It was at the height of the mass action. It was at the height of the demonstrations. We came here. Kenyans through police brutality, and many others were maimed, and that is why we went to the table under the able leadership of His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka on our side. And therefore, the outcome of the NADCO process cannot be rubbished. But it is worrying that since November last year, this is now May, 6 months or so later, since the report was unveiled at the Hilton Garden Hotel in November last year, we are now in June actually. No single bill has gone through out of the 9 bills. The only bill that is nearing completion is the IBC amendment bill. The others are lying somewhere. It has always to take our pushing for those bills to be moved. So we want to commit that on our part we shall continue to push that these bills be fast-tracked and they be enacted into law. But on the IBC bill, briefly, you know, every Kenyan citizen has got the right to representation. Can you imagine that since April 27th last year, when the Speaker of the National Assembly declared the Banisa parliamentary seat vacant in Mandera, the Banisa constituency parliamentary seat has remained vacant to date. They have no MP in parliament because their MP died. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And the reason is that there has been no IBC in place. So I would have imagined that those who are in power would be moved to fast track the IBC amendment bill and say within 2 months from November last year we have it in place. And here we are. Here we are. So the people of Banisa and very many other wards that have also lost MCAs deserve to be represented. And therefore it is important that this bill be concluded and it becomes an act of parliament for an IBC to be constituted, for the IBC to be reconstituted, so that it can continue to undertake its mandate. But more importantly again is the issue of the limitation of boundaries. That has to be done through the constitutional amendment that is proposed. Because as you know, we are already 3 months late. We are three months past the deadline for the limitation that was to happen by March this year. So for the delimitation to happen now, we have to open that bracket again, that window. That can only happen through an amendment to the Constitution, which we have proposed through NADCO. Again, it is the right of every Kenyan to be represented. We know for sure that there has been a lot of gerrymandering in the past with constituency boundaries. And that's why we can't afford to go to the next elections without a delimitation and review of boundaries. I keep on hearing the mantra of one man, one shilling, one vote. The best place to deal with it is through this delimitation first. I keep on hearing. I don't know whether it is official policy of Kenya Kwanza or UDA. I'm not sure. You know, a person occupying a high office as a DP, a deputy president, cannot just voice an opinion. He must be speaking the official policy. So we don't know whether it is official policy of Kenya Kwanza now that we go one man, one shilling, one vote. We are waiting to hear. But we want to challenge everybody who is responsible to first and foremost focus on fast-tracking the amendment bill on the Constitution. For us to get it right from the word go. Finally, it's on the political parties. It's also an amendment to the Political Parties Act that has been proposed with far-reaching recommendations, if only to strengthen the institution of political parties as the foundation of our multi-party democracy. I am glad Madam Anne Derito is here. She has been very, very useful in her current role as the registrar of political parties. We shall continue to work closely with her as we midwife this process. we shall continue, Your Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, to work with the registrar of political parties. She has been very supportive. Very, very supportive. So I don't want to really go beyond that. For now, I want to sit back and listen to the citizens. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi for those very important remarks and history of why we are here, and therefore the role of the citizens. Remember always that we are talking about the Citizens Legislative Conference. Legislative means that we are talking about legislations. Legislations mean that we are talking about laws. So in this process, what is our role as the citizens? Amka! Oh, mulisahau. Amka! Stay woke! Stay woke! When I went there, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo told me to remind you that you can as well say stay water. So it can be stay water or stay water, right? Depending on which one fits. So, Mheshimiwa Madam Registrar of Political Parties, in this crowd is a host of very many political party leaders. And I'm sure that you can identify with a number of them. And they're here because of one of the proposals in the amendments of the NADCO bills, the Political Parties Act that creates the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. One of the proposals is, of course, to amend that we scrap off and replace the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties with what is called the Political Parties Regulatory Authority. What does this mean? One, to political parties, and also to the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. Tafadhali tupige makofi, tumwalike Madam Registrar to also come and speak to us about the implications of this NADCO proposal on the Political Parties Act.
I'm one of your biggest fans.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, and the party leader of Wiper Democratic Movement, Honorable Wandayi, the minority leader in Parliament, all members of Parliament present, and all the political party leaders present, and the citizen in this hall this afternoon. Good afternoon. I want to start by saying this is an important forum where the citizens are allowed also to ask questions to the leaders and also interact with the legal process and procedures as it is required. I'm here to talk about political parties and their role in registration, in the legislative process. And I want to note that first of all, the purpose of any law, anywhere in any country, is first of all to articulate the rights of the citizens. Two, any law is supposed also to address the regulatory framework that can be there so that human beings must be regulated as far as behavior is concerned. Without laws, sometimes you miss the point that you are not able to really identify with the people, and especially when it comes to behavior. And one of that regulatory process is the political behavior of Kenyans. And that's why probably the Political Parties Act was created so that they bring the regulatory framework of our political parties and therefore by extension the political behavior. Law is not static. I totally agree that law must adjust with the society. When the society changes and the circumstance changes, so should be the law. So that's why when we are discussing about the NADCO bills and the legislation framework, we are cognizant that circumstances keep changing. And secondly, from an electoral practitioner point of view, after elections, we do what we call post-election evaluation. The reason for post-election evaluation as a country is first of all to identify the gaps, and two, to look at the areas that we never did very well so that we bring on board legislation framework that will address the issues that were a problem in that electoral cycle. So I'm speaking from that perspective, that law is not static, that law keep moving depending on the society and the circumstances that are there. This very location of one house has a rich history in many things, including engaging and coming up with the solution that made the country move forward. But so that I'm not really verbose, I want to really talk about the Political Parties Act and probably touch just little on any other law that affect elections, because I practice elections and governance, and especially governance of political parties. In 2001 is when we had the first Political Parties Act bill, which was sponsored. It was that particular time is funding, was on funding of political parties, which was sponsored by Ford Kenya then, Muskari Kobo, and it went on and on until 2007. That is when we had the first Political Parties Act 2007, which now delinked the office of the legislation of very many other several changes. One of the other proper review was done in 2011, which now an independent institution through the Political Parties Act. We are now facing another review, which also probably circumstances have changed, and that's why we are saying then we need to review the Political Parties Act. But I have a few questions we ask ourselves. First of all, we must understand what exactly are we fixing. That should be the number one question when we are reviewing the Political Parties Act. If we are fixing independent and strengthening the institution, then we should look at the tenets of an independent institution. What does it entail? And I have three or two issues I would want to bring, especially to the people who participated in NADOC process, that probably when we are looking at the reform, we need to look at. And I thank Opio Wadai, the leader of minority, for saying that we shall work closely together, because we should create a law that is meant for posterity and helping the governance of political parties and also the institutions that regulate those political parties. The first thing, when we appeared in Bomas, us and many other people had wanted the office of registrar, whether in its current form or whether in a commission, to be put in the constitution. Why? Because that is one of the tenets of constitutional independence. This office is now established under the meaning of Article 260 of the Constitution, which creates and allows creation of such independent offices that that operationalizes the Constitution. When you now bring a commission, and then we now would not fall under the Article 260, and then it doesn't fall under Chapter 15, then the issue of constitutional independence bring a problem. Probably you may want to look at that when we are progressing, so that we make sure that this particular office is anchored in law. That have been done on the Constitutional Amendment Bill in regards to Article 91 and Article 92. The background at which the political parties are formed. But I don't know what can be the problem if we just also import the office itself into the Constitution, because political parties are well established in the Constitution. So it will be prudent if we bring the office that regulates into the in the constitution. That will create constitutional independence. Number two, I read that the published bill, the one that was published at the Senate, indicate two things. Does not connect with the current office of the Registrar of Political Parties in any way. Why? Because it doesn't provide any transitional clauses at all. So meaning, scrapping an institution and create another one from the scratch, or do we want to transform an institution from one level to another? Are we reforming an institution? So that if that is the case, then we need to provide squarely a lot of transitional clauses, because as it stands now, we stand a risk of saying even the political parties then as they are established do not exist. The records and assets do not exist. I will bring to attention that there's a lot of work that has been done to institutionalize that office, and a lot of money that has been used, so that transitional clauses should be provided to be able to connect the office together with the... As a practitioner in the area, I want to tell you the infrastructure as the bill presents face a challenge, may bring a challenge. One, because but the people who are regulating are coming directly from political parties. So my wish was maybe this should be a process of where we recruit people who are completely in the regulatory work. One of the concerns as a regulator is that we have removed even the regulatory function. We are creating a regulatory authority with zero regulatory function. Actually, under section 3, the bill has removed the requirement of regulation from the regulator. Then what shall be the regulatory, and it has the name regulatory, be doing if it doesn't have the regulatory ability? Political parties are very important in terms of ensuring good governance and democracy in a country. Therefore, when we are establishing a framework that actually regulates them, it should therefore not be short of very clear structures on how then the regulation will happen. The bill also does not even provide what are the disqualification and qualification of people who shall be members of that commission. And it also does not give clearly what will happen to the current office holders and also the staff of the OLPP. So in a nutshell, we have done a very comprehensive response to the call for memorandum to the Senate, but in a nutshell, that is some of the issues that we really need to look when we are looking at the NADOC process. Allow me also to talk about one or two issues on, just in 1 minute. I know you want to come, but just in 1 minute. One, I'm also, as a practitioner in election, there's also the Election Offences Amendment Bill. One of the provisions there talk about that it will be an offense for a polling station official not to transmit result within 2 hours. But then it doesn't qualify some of the circumstances that can lead to delay. Some of them it's network. And some people have to move from one polling station all the way probably even near the tallying center. So I want it aligned with the realities on the ground as far as election management is concerned, so that you don't criminalize for a PO who is actually one of our children. It may be your son, because these POs are young people. And if you criminalize that you don't post the election within 2 hours, then it's criminal. It can be a problem to those young people. So if we really outline the circumstances under which then that delay can happen, it can also be very good. Finally, I have seen in one, I think it's still with the Election Amendment Bill, that an office that the dispute resolution between the commission and the returning officers is being transported from the commission to the judiciary. I've been IBC for 10 years or more. That one will actually interfere with the electoral timelines. When the dispute between a returning officer and a candidate, to me, it's my considered opinion, but I'm a practitioner and I have done that in the area, should be left to the commission. Let the commission deal with their own returning officers so that the timelines are not interfered with. When it goes to court, it can go. At what point shall we print the ballot papers? I rest my case.
Asante sana Madam Mwasiji. Registrar in Swahili ni nini? Msajili, very good. Hiyo. Madam Msajili kwa misemo mazuri sana in terms of her understanding of the proposed NADCO amendments, particularly on the Political Parties Act, on the creation of the Political Parties Regulatory Commission. Very important for us citizens because the Constitution of Kenya gives us only two ways in which you can get elected into either of the elective positions. Either as, one is, how do you become a governor for Nairobi? You become elected, isn't it? Or you can run as an independent candidate. So all those things therefore affect even you up there. I see you office, and in the event that some of these recommendations are picked and made law, of course we have very clear implications. So thank you so much, Madam Registrar. And as we saw, only one bill has been executed. So the very good points that you have that you've talked about here, we'll request you to also share them with us. Then as we build onto our memorandum, we can as well also, when that time comes, we can be able to share them. I know that we are now itching to engage, ask our questions, and to speak to these particular processes. And the reason why, as County Governance Watch, we sought to identify the practitioners, the people who have the detailed info, is so that we do not run the risk of either being misquoted or running a propaganda machine. And hence the reason why we looked for the co-chairs of the NADCO process and also the leadership of the House, because really, as we said, legislation happens at that legislative house. I have received a text message, Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, our chief guest and keynote representatives from Kenya Kwanza in the House. And so at some point, we'll also allow them to speak. Mheshimiwa Arnold Maliba, please. Thank you so much. Arnold, Mheshimiwa Senator Malala, that is been held up somewhere on his way here. And then we also have Anthony Communication. Anthony, yes, he's seated. Please just stand and wave. So thank you so much. The chief opens up, will give you these proposals on the finance bill. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, nani kati yetu atatusaidia kumwalika Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka? Mheshimiwa, ngoja tu kwanza. Mheshimiwa
Asante. Asanteni sana. Bwana. Amka. Before I came here, I had stay woke. Sita wap. I thought this is almost dozing sometimes because I don't know, or maybe the subject. I saw much more top of his voice making register. Mheshimiwa Esther Pasari. We came a little late and so we missed out on some of the presentation. Are worthy of to what I've been asked to do. I don't know what. By the way, some of the things are very serious. Very serious, and I think we'll have occasion to address them separately. Because if they fall under chapter 6 of the Constitution, we may have to discuss how a head of state should conduct himself. If you are friends, keep them as friends. Because under chapter 6, even when you are given a gift, yani hukutaka niseme hiyo sio. Asante. So let's all really adhere to Constitution 2010 on integrity and the conduct of leaders. When you hear of state capture, it begins with people who say, Esther Passaris, County Representative Nairobi, you're going to give you a free ticket to Dubai. That's how it starts. It can affect also a head of state. It becomes a very serious matter. In my view, some of these are impeachable offenses. But I said I will not go that way. Let me restrict myself to being at Ufungamano. Look at this place, Ufungamano. Kufungamana ni kuweka bongo zetu pamoja, kufungamana, kuwa na msimamo pamoja na kuhakikisha kwamba usawa upo. Usawa wa nchi, usawa wa jamii, pasipo mapendeleo. Therefore, this very historic place, the history of constitution making in this country, almost certainly you cannot talk about the history of constitution making without Ufungamano process. There are people who made big contributions. Therefore, I would like to extend my gratitude to the board and secretariat of County Governance Watch for inviting me to attend this conference at Ufungamano House. Since its inception, as I said, in 1966, this center has served as epicenter of significant political conversations and movements by Kenya's opposition, Kenya's civil society, religious groups. By the way, it was the religious groups that came up with Ufungamano, and the student community advocating for constitutional reforms. Well, I came to this university in the mid-70s, early 70s, and I used to be a student at Hall 6, Nile, that we called it the Nile Hall. I know my room, so I can walk up there actually. But I wonder whether it is the same. You know, we used to have a university community, and then the male students would go to the box, and they were accused of cockroaching. Some of them found beautiful wives from that place. A community University of Nairobi, the university. Others came after that. I know some of you went to Kenyatta, you went to Moi, event, but this was the place, Ufungamano. So, as I talk to you, therefore, in this written presentation, I just wanted you to know we are standing in the midst of political history, and it is good to be at Fungamano. The work of CGW, led by Executive Director Kevin Osido, is genuinely commendable. We commend you for what you're doing. And one of your 6 thematic areas, i.e. devolution and county participation, have put CGW front and center in addressing socioeconomic and political development issues at the national as well as the county levels in our country. Specifically, the platforms CGW has provided for. I really never like acronyms. They're very difficult things, particularly if these are all consonants. And it's not even a vowel. CGW has provided for public participation, have helped to strengthen county government structures, giving citizens a greater say in how their resources are managed and decisions are made. In my opinion, County Government Watch has had and continues to have a distinctive and important voice because of your dedication to improving our society via citizen capacity building, which I think is what you're doing today. It is also not lost on me that this keynote address takes place on the eve of our 61st anniversary of Madaraka. Has it occurred to you? For example, we took the decision that the National Prayer Breakfast event must be on a Thursday preceding Madaraka Day. And I never like to talk about myself, but here I mentioned I was the first chair of the National Prayer Breakfast when we invited Yakub Gowon, the president of Nigeria, to come and speak at that first anniversary. And really, this has grown to be a very important institution. 61 years ago, Kenya had its first genuinely democratic elections. Lower House and Senate, as well as regional assemblies. That time, of course, people remember, younger ones, Majimbo, the call for Majimbo. And our modern name Majimbo under Constitution 2010 is devolution. As part of the constitutional transitional process agreed upon in Lancaster House, this can be considered the first real public participation act by Kenyans, our first woke movement, if you will, where the call for citizens' action was exercised by Kenyans at the ballot. The allusion to the history of Madaraka is both essential and significant, as is a reminder here of the national values and ideals our founding fathers championed when fighting for our right to independence, so that all Kenyans will be free from ignorance, poverty, and disease. However difficult the situation, allow me to send Azimio's greetings to all Kenyans as you celebrate the 61st Madaraka Day celebration tomorrow. On August 27, 2010, we promulgated the Constitution of Kenya 2010 following a referendum on August 4th. Before its promulgation, Kenyans reviewed the proposed new constitution, made recommendations and proposals, and forwarded their views to their respective members of parliament. The Kenyans from all walks of life were allotted 30 days to engage in the document that would become the supreme law of our country. That was indeed a watershed, woke movement, a watershed, woke moment. Some here may even consider this our first genuine citizen-driven legislative action. Significantly, Article 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution empowers citizens to exercise their sovereign power directly. Article 10.2 includes national values, participation of the people. Article 33.1 provides that every person has a right to freedom of expression, which includes A, freedom to seek, receive, or impart information or ideas. Further, Article 35 grants citizens the right to access to information held by the state. Moreover, although Article 94 gives Parliament sole authority to enact laws, Articles 118, 119, 124, 201 and 221 and 232 define public participation in legislative proceedings. Article 232(1)(d) makes it quite evident that, quote-unquote, the involvement of the people in the process of policy making is a necessary public service value and principle. Therefore, we deliberately, as Kenyans, decided to make the issue of public participation a right which nobody can take away from you. Let me now take this moment to address the National Dialogue Committee bills and the Finance Bill, and my brother Opio Wandai has spoken very clearly and elaborately on that. Let me also remind you that these NADCO bipartisan talks were a result of the sacrifices of more than 76, now we've now heard from Opio, who lost their lives during the Maandamano protests. As co-chair of NADCO, we spent months at the Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi, listening to inputs from the public, also from the executive, from county government, civil society, and religious organizations and the business community. And Fred Okango was able to take you through the agenda items, those 6 points. And of course, our number one concern that time was the high cost of living. High cost of living remains a big issue today. From your submitted proposals, we presented to Right Honorable Raila Odinga and President William Ruto what I truly believe was and continues to be the people's call to action. It then was incumbent on our representatives, the National Assembly and the Senate, to honor their voices by passing the bills without amendments. Even if you were to take into account what Anne Deritu has spoken about, the very useful critique of our thinking about a commission, a regulatory commission, as opposed to a one-person office of the registrar of political parties, which gets interfered with. Truth be said, it will go down in history that when elections were held in August 2022, Azimio Coalition One Kenya emerged the majority coalition. But what happened thereafter? Our friends in UDM were the first ones to fall to executive interference. Well, that executive interference doesn't worry me. What worries me is, what does it mean to the future of this country? I wouldn't imagine myself being a member of UDM and my grandchildren and children's others who remember will be told that you spoiled the party for Kenya. That's a very serious observation. Very serious. Therefore, integrity to political parties was a very key matter. And that's why, Madam Anne Deritu, we know you're a human being. You get a call from a president, and the issue of independence of our institutions. How truly independent are these institutions? That's a question. Even if we enact them, unless you get people of the caliber of former Chief Justice, for example, Maraga, who would say no? While the National Assembly adhered to the will of the people, the 4 bills that the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights considered in early May, had significant alterations. I've just received a call from the minority leader in the Senate. Senator Amboy said he couldn't attend some function I'm coming from because they are there with Stuart Masayo with their eyes open. So there's not going to be some gerrymandering. Is that the country we want to live in? I'm glad that our minority leader, Kilifi County Senator Stuart Masayo, raised the red flag with the Senate Business Committee, and that Speaker Emerson Kingi stopped the process so that the said bills be corrected with what was agreed in the NADCO report and republished for introduction or reintroduction in the Senate. But look at the amount of time we have taken. From November, as Wandaya said, it gives us the feeling, and we know that some of us never like to act in vain. We love this country so dearly that we must call out whoever is trying to take us for granted and taking the country on a ride. Therefore, the two principals, my brother Raila Odinga and President William Ruto, have a duty. They say they'll do whatever it takes to whip members in parliament and do something. But we can always see a certain amount of laxity. Therefore, we need this woke moment. And if you don't wake up, citizens, if you don't wake up and you remain as calm as you are this evening, this country will just go to the dogs. Very calm citizens. Well, I'm not asking you to be another buffalo soldier, but I'm telling you, please, the call to action, and for leaders to put action to what they have publicly announced. To be clear, this March nation demonstrated a lack of good faith on the part of a sector of the Kenya Kwanza administration. Without our lawmakers' sharp eye for detail, the 4 bills may have passed, which would have been a travesty of immense proportion. As regards the Finance Bill 2024, my sister was here. I really missed out an activist who seems to have been talking to herself, but very deeply. I think you are listening. Even if you don't listen to me, I hope you listen to, was it Damari? Diana. I hope you listen to Diana. Even if you have not listened to anything I've said today, please take into account what Diana told you. It looks to me that this government is so determined to kill the middle class. Now, during my time with President Kibaki, we were very deliberate about growing Kenya's middle class. These are the men and women driving. These are the men and women people are telling you don't want to pay tax, leave the car at home. Sasa mambo gani haya? We tafakari mambo haya. Do you know it was a middle class who in August 2022, 8 million of them decided, I cannot go to Chakaranda Primary School and queue for the whole day to vote. Now, because you didn't vote, this is what you are getting. I can bet the next election, the number 1 people to wake up Kukiratene at 5 o'clock in the morning will be the middle class. They are the ones who are overburdened, overtaxed. But what is even more tragic is after that taxation, instead of helping Mama Mboga and Boda Boda, you're putting it either in your pocket or allowing your proxies or people to go flashing out their wealth from people's taxes. Some others in Parliament, Mheshimiwa Andai, even have the audacity to tell Kenyans that we are overtaxing bread because we have realized it causes diabetes. For goodness sake, honestly, why don't you tell them? Why don't you tell them? And we are still sitting here. That, by the way, was a cause of the French Revolution. When a certain queen said, why are these people complaining? Oh, they want bread. Oh, if you don't have bread, give them cake. Shows the level of disconnect. So, middle class, you're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. And Kenya is so unique. This is why this country has managed to stabilize. Because it's a middle class which you create the engine of growth, economic growth. But if you bring everybody to the same level, you kill our industries, because no investor will want to look at even these economic zones that Kenya Kwanza have been talking about. People instead go to 10th of Ramadan city outside of Cairo and invest because that the conditions are attractive. No investor. During NADCO proceedings, do not hear appeal that over 6,000 companies migrated from Kenya to Tanzania. That is a hard truth. And how many Kenyans are without jobs? We talk of the youth bulge. If we can actually nurture the youth bulge, we will be able to make this country a Vision 2030 country. That's what we had with President Kibaki, Vision 2030. How many years do we have to 2030? And is Kenya Kwanza going to take us there? They hardly even mention the word Vision 2030. I think it's vision themselves. Going to Harambes, flush out 1 million shillings, 3 million shillings back to the era of Harambee, which is actually stolen money. So Kenyans have to wake up. I'm sorry if I sound emotional about this, because this is one of the values. We say the source of corruption in Kenya was forced Harambes and other Harambes. We can no longer claim, ladies and gentlemen, ignorance. And we must take all necessary actions to safeguard public participation as one of our democracy's core foundations and be able to uphold that promise. We must do now, tomorrow, and always, in the spirit of self-independence. We must reject the apparent tokenism of public participation in favor of true and effective public discourse and engagement that leads to a legislative agenda that reflects the desire of the Kenyan people. Kenyans are feeling despondent. Who will do what for us? You and I feel, must have the bravery and voice to tell this administration that we have the capacity, the dignity, and the right to make decisions and shape our destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our self-governance moment. This is our Amka Stay Woke moment. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Asante sana, much Your Excellency, for those very deep of where we are coming from, where we are, and where we need to go to as a people. Reminding us about our responsibility, particularly focusing on why we are here and the choice of Ufungamano as a venue. Tumeshukuru sana Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, even for accepting as co-chair of the NADCO process to grace this particular inaugural Amka Stay Woke conversation by citizens. So ladies and gentlemen, once again tumpigie makofi mazuri mgeni wetu mheshimiwa. Thank you so much. And the former vice president has informed me that he has to leave, but he is willing to take only 2 questions And then he has tasked Mheshimiwa Opiyo Wandayi and Mheshimiwa Pasaris and a host of MCAs who are here, including the Speaker of Kitui County Assembly. I remember seeing you in Kitui, my brother. Karibu. Tumpigie makofi mazuri. Asante for gracing up. So we want to give only 2 people, 1 lady, 1 gentleman, the first opportunity to ask Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo a question around why we are here. The NADCO bills, yeah, I can see the first hand and the lady there. The roving mics, please. Because this is a public discourse, you can as well just come and ask your question from here. Just tell us your name, where you come from, and straight to your question. Story mobs are how you ran for governor and you are scared about belonging to a party that was going to be deregistered. Hapana. Ama namna gani? Because we also don't have time, right?
Jambo Kenya. Jambo wa Kenya wenzangu. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka. Swali langu la kwanza. Our problem as a nation. Our problem as a nation is not even corruption. Okay, thank you. So, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, tuko na shida kubwa kwanza kwa hii Kenya. Swali la kwanza. Are you the solution or are you another problem as the many problems we've already have as Kenyans? Number 2, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, direction is more important than speed. As President William Ruto greatest challenger, what direction are you taking and what different policies and lala tukiamka tuamke na matumaini na si maini zenye hazina chakula. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, lastly, just 30 seconds. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, I'm not afraid of telling you the truth. I woke up on August 8th to vote. I thought I was voting for change. What I'm experiencing today is not the change. Musyoka, if you, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka.
Asante sana. Huyo ndugu anataka kulia machozi sababu anashanga kwa hivyo. From his, your understanding of his question. Of course, Kenya Kwanza team, and then Mheshimiwa Pasaris will also give us some 2 comments about the 2/3 gender rule and the process. Process. Karibu.
Stay woke. My name is Angela. Calls observed. Peace be all unto you. Your Excellency, Mr. Kalonzo, we are aware that Kenya has been made a NATO ally. We are aware. All these changes in the finance bill, in all the changes in these bills, is it being triggered by this alliance? We know, tunajua wazungu walicolonize Kenya. Now we can't trust them again, unaona. Na Kalonzo, Your Excellency Mr. Kalonzo. If at all there's any benefit to the Kenyan mwananchi, hii agreement yenye ilimekiwa huko ina benefit aje mwananchi, ama sisi ndo scapegoats za the elites wenye wako huko juu tukuje tumie? Thank you.
Asante sana dadangu. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Bwana is happening. Yes, sir. Request you to come over and respond to. They touch on the policies and the laws and also the issues around all these changes. What is the future like? And so this is going to be the nature of our.
Where is Patrick? Oh, Paul. You voted for William Ruto. That's your right. And now you are feeling it. The winner, whenever that will be. The first thing, and I've said it up, housing tax. Day one, say that. Because you're feeling that even in for round 2 of overtaxation. Of course, I'll deal with corruption. But Kenyans are tired. You say the problem is not corruption. I agree with you, Paul. Issue is inborn greed. Yeah, and you just want to get there and fix everybody. Have a stone heart. The trouble is we need leaders with hearts of flesh. We seem to have friends who are now sitting in high places who are guided by that approach. Mutadu. Because we want the economy to grow, taxation should be made simple, predictable, so that a Kenyan businessman, a Somali man businessman, mama in Gikomba, wherever, those juakali artisans who kutengeneza hizo masufuria, you're going to even have to tax them. We are waiting for, when the courts, Paul said you go back to parliament to do, now go and tax the hope is in the informal sector right now. The other day I went to Gikomba and then went to Kamkunji. The only handicraft market which is supposed to service the tourism industry in, well, I've seen a statement by President Ruto today saying that they have paid, settled over 20 of any who was settled. Asikuona, or the 10,000 shillings that we're supposed to get, they use the chiefs have girlfriends na mabibi wengine. Are you sure this money has not ended up with the wrong hands? And you are there sitting, Mr. President, now kuamini you have done your duty. But the most serious thing is what Angela, was it Angela? I thank you for that question. Indeed, it should be the concern of every Kenyan. Any government's worth is sought must commit to protect the lives of its citizens and their properties. I posed a question the other day. The United States of America are our friends. Indeed, if you know the history of this country, the friendship between the then Attorney General of the United States of America under President Kennedy was Robert Kennedy. He was a very good friend of our late iconic leader, Tom Joseph Mboya. They organized the first airlift of Kenyans to the United States, and that gave capacity. That was capacity building for the newly independent nation state of Kenya. But that friendship aside, in 1998, I remember it clearly, I was the Minister for Education, and I took an helicopter to preside over a show, an agricultural show in Hola, in Tana River County, and then flew to Garissa Technical Institute. Then it had now become a university, to preside over graduation of the teachers who had graduated that year in 1990. When I was there, between Hola and Garissa, I'm receiving telephone calls, urgent, kumepigwa Nairobi, kumepigwa. President Moi had to convene a very urgent cabinet meeting. Lest you forget, we lost over 220 Kenyans that day, and Kenyans demonstrated their ability to love each other. Nobody asked, are you Kikuyu, are you Luo, are you Mkamba, Mlaluya, Kalenjin? They were there helping each other, those ones who were wounded. Today, how many years since 1998? Can somebody tell me? How many years? 36? 26 years. I attended the 25th anniversary at the bomb blast. I remember the twin bomb blasts happened in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam, targeting the American embassy, American embassies. We became collateral damage. And we were not an ally of NATO. We were not an ally of NATO. Just imagine now to be branded and aligned. In other words, next time, instead of hitting the American embassy, they will hit us directly, wherever there's problem with Kenyan embassy, anywhere in the world. Therefore, this needed serious conversation. Let us remain bilateral, good friends with the United States of America, because there's a big Kenyan community out there. And we want them to come and invest. And on that, I think President William Ruto did his best. The digital economy, the Silicon Valley. But when you think of the American Silicon Valley, we have our Konza City, which is a Vision 2030 project by Kibaki and myself and Raila. The African Savannah. So at the end of the day, we must guard what we consider our identity as a nation state. Otherwise we will continue to be collateral damage. But this time, not collateral damage, we will be targeted. And when that happens, we will hold Kenya Kwanza responsible. Mumenisikia hiyo? I mean, naongea kabisa because of experience. Mambo haya tunayaona haya. Tunayaona. Therefore, positive non-alignment is what has kept us going. Well, I loved when President Ruto was asked a question by Richard Quest. You remember Quest means business. Hey, mnakumbuka huyo? Alimuuliza bana, sasa hii alignment, mmekuwa sasa nyinyi ni West. Do you know what your president said? He said, watu wanatugandamiza na hii maneno ya East, look East or West. We say we look forward. That is Kenya's foreign policy. Well, I did everything to help our brothers in Somalia. Really. Brought Abdullah Yusuf. Abdullah Qassam lives in Egypt. Because unless there is peace in Somalia, we cannot claim to have reasonable peace in Kenya. Well, I even said, although my clan here ni mnajua, huko nilisema clan yangu inaitwa Dikli Mirifli. Because they are Huyes and the Darots. They are all Somalis, they are all Muslim, but they will kill each other because of the sub-clans. We have a difficult geographical location. With troubles in Ethiopia, I can understand why America would need to have some anchoring. By the way, that anchoring could even happen without these declarations, because these declarations can spell doom and death to Kenya. I hope Angela nimekujibu. Mungu alinde Kenya. Thank you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka ambaye pia ni mgeni wetu wa heshima siku ya leo. Tumpigie makofi mazuri tena tafadhalini. So Chief Guest, I believe you can exit at your pleasure and leisure as we stay with Mheshimiwa Wandai and the other leaders. But as he exits, I want to invite Mheshimiwa Pasaris to also share with us a brief on the 2/3, her experience as an elected women representative, and what some of these reforms and proposals mean to us as Kenyans. Unless you are the driver of Mheshimiwa, I will request us to keep staying, because we are still going on to now engage with you as a public. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Wow, I am so proud of all of you. I mean, putting yourselves together as citizens to actually discuss the issues that are pertaining to the country. So let me stand on the protocols that were here before. Now I'm supposed to talk about the 2/3 gender. First of all, even when I look at this room, I can see, can I have the women stand up? Just the women. %, okay? Now, when it comes to the votes in Kenya, the citizens, the votes are split 50-50, almost. But we still cannot get men or women to go out there and vote for women. Okay, so we have 290 constituencies. Out of the 290 constituencies, only 10%, we reached 10% for the first time in the 2022 elections. 10%. We had 29 women in the single constituencies who battled it with men, and they won. Then we lost Alice Wahome, she went to become CS. When that election happened, a man came in. So now 28. In Nairobi, we have 17 constituencies. In the last parliament, we had Mercy Gakuya in Kasarani as the only woman. In this parliament, we have Elachi as the only woman. In the Nairobi County, where all the issues, people, water, garbage, roads, right? In the last county assembly, we had 5 women. Beat this, out of 85 wards. 5 women. This, you went down. It was not even 10%. So, if you're looking at the issues, right? The issues that women want to discuss, like sanitary towels, putting a bigger budget. When we go to committee meetings, you will find that if a committee has 19 members, there are probably 4 women. Out of 19 members,
comment katika comment section
the women are going to
katika Facebook na TikTok.
Equal pay. Thank you. More. Oh. Okay? We proved that during the tribal clashes. All right? It was women who were hosting other tribes in their houses and hiding them. It was women who were raped. It was women who were maimed. So at the end of the day, we need as a country, first, before we start talking about the law, why are we not willing to employ women and as leaders, and why that women, we've had 2 women run for presidents. Charity. All right? Martha Karua was the running mate for Azimio. Okay? But for me, we need to ask ourselves a simple question. What is it that makes us not want to harsh on women? We're very harsh on women. By the way, I recently became a shosh. Okay? And I'm very... It's a blessing to live up to 60 this year, all right? And to have a granddaughter, okay? But when you go on social media, and you're called shosh. It is like your time is up, you're no good. Na ukiitwa mzee na heshima yake yote. Some of the issues that you have are because you don't have enough women in government. We've never had a woman president. We've never had a woman deputy president. We are having very few governors who are women now, and they are working very hard, but the bar is set very high. When it comes to looking at how the woman performs, it is so much higher. I never see you guys asking men, uko na bibi? Umefanya harusi? Umetoka weni kabla yako ni wapi? Kaunti yako ni wapi? Umezaliwa wapi? Those are the questions you'll ask women. But you don't ask men. If a man has 5 or 6 girlfriends and 10 wives, he's celebrated. Hey, when he do me. If a woman does it, my goodness, you're a prostitute, you're loose, you're this, you're that, you're the other. So let me tell you, we need to first ask ourselves as citizens before we look at the law. So the Constitution was passed, and we said not more than 2/3 of one gender, meaning if we have 9 seats, 3 has to be one gender, 6 has to be one gender. You cannot have 7 of one gender. So we said we want not more than 2/3 of one gender. So we would have women come in. And then to help us, we created the women representative seat so that we are guaranteed 47 will be elected, competing in the county. And I'll tell you, it's a tough job. I get the same salary as an MP for a single constituency. I have only one office, and I'm expected to serve the whole Nairobi. All right? If there's a fire in Mathare, all watch is only in Mathare. If there's a fire in Kibra, Orero is in Kibra. If there's a fire in Ruaraka, TJ is there. And then Mama County is supposed to be in all those places, right? When it comes to resources, the men are always adding more money to their CDF because there are many. But when it comes to adding money for GAF, hakuna. So Mheshimiwa here Wandai, he has about 60 million for bursaries. Mheshimiwa here Pasaris, she has 1.6 million in the constituency. So how do you even look at me when I come with 1.6 million in an entire constituency? When I'm told I have only 1.2 million for I can only give 2 groups per ward per year. And then people are saying, Mama County, hatukuoni. You know, let me tell you, I can't come to the grassroots. The first time I got into office, I went and did civic education all over Nairobi. I kept telling them about about the bursaries, about value addition. Let me tell you, I got over 10,000 applications. I'm still combing through some of those applications. So it's difficult because you're trying to go and sell something and you have no resources. So for me, what I want to tell you, all the women representatives, all your women leaders, they work very hard, but they are limited in resources because it's a man's world. And we're being given 1/3 in Kenya, but the SDGs, which this country is a signatory to, says not 50-50. SDG number 5. Gender parity is 50-50. So I want to tell my women first, let me talk to the tribe of women. Let us rise above party politics. Let us become women. When we see a woman, we vote a woman. Because when the women stand with each other, the men will follow suit. And you know, right now, I don't think we have a situation where a man will come and tell you as a woman what to do. Because we have a single mother crisis. Wanaume hawako, wana plant wanaondoka, wana plant wanaondoka. Wamama wote ni single mothers. So those days of being told what to do are over. You do what you have to do, support a fellow woman so that she can be able to make sure that we actually legislate, budget, oversight as women. So the tribe of women has to rise. And then we've got another category of he for she. Wale wanaume ambao hawata plant and go, wata plant and stay. Prosperity in the house. Hakim watoto wenyu watafute, wanateseka mjini yangu hii Nairobi. Kila pahali naenda naona watoto wenyu wanaume. Na mama anasimama anasema single mother hakuzaa peke yake. Muli enjoy, mukaacha mtoto mukatembea. na wajua huyo ni wako, hata sura ni yako, desturi ni yako, ha? Na umemwacha ati umeenda palingine kuenjoy. Ukikunywa hiyo bia au busao muratina, ask yourself a question, mtoto wangu anakula nini leo usiku? Ati unajiona mimi ni dume, unanulia watu bia hapo, unajiona wewe ni mkali bure. Mtoto wako anateseka, bibi yako anateseka, na unajiita mwanaume. Akiwe si mwanaume, we ni deadbeat father. Deadbeat father. So that was it. Tribe of women, let's stand together. He for she, let's stand together. If you're not a he for she, na unajua umeacha mtoto wako pahali, nenda mtafute, alafu tutakuwa he for she. Thank you very much.
Asante sana mheshimiwa. Tumpigie makofi mazuri tafadhalini. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris, for those really making the contentious issues of the 2/3 gender rule real, like vitu kwa ground, presenting it from her perspective as a legislator, someone who makes those laws, someone who lives the challenges that we see, and now also focusing on what we need to do to be able to make it better. So we thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. And we are drawing towards a close. I want to ask for 2 more questions in the second round. Oh, munaenda hapana. So we are maliba kidogo tu. I have been informed that you are sent with 9 points to share with the audience. So 7 points. Hey, I am in communication with your people, so just allow us to. So I'll take this question here, and then this question here. Edna, let's start with the lady, and then we can. Ama sababu mesha kashafika, aendelee sivyo?
Thank you, Osido. I have many, but I will just do 2 questions very quickly. Honorable Wandai, you mentioned in your speech that 6 months down the line, after the NADCO committee, these bills are somewhere. Kenyans are sitting here and others are watching. Maybe you should tell us this somewhere, I'm willing to go get them. And how many of you would be willing to accompany me to get them? Because this somewhere needs to be known who has the key and lock for that somewhere, so that we can get them, because Kenyans need them. To my leader, Honorable Passaris, the 2023-2024 finance bill, you're one of the MPs who voted yes, if I'm not wrong. Would you promise that you have changed your mind now? Or you are still going to vote yes to 2024-2025 bill? Because it really hurt some of us who believed in you, who voted you in Nairobi, who wanted you to, represent our voices. We shouted at the top of our voices, but you said you are looking for development in that bill. I am sure you have 1 or 2 that you can mention today in that bill of 2023-2024. If there is none, can you promise us this 2024-2025, you have changed your mind, you are being baptized? Then finally, to the 2 members of parliament remaining here. Oh, the registrar, just 1 minute, Osido. The registrar of political parties. How comes in your books, Kenyans voted Azimio as the majority? We would not have a problem that we have now if Azimio had majority in parliament. But in that period, when the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Wetangula, were giving us the verdict that Kenya Kwanza is now the majority, I wondered where your voice was, because I needed to know, as the registrar of political parties, these clients of yours, who got what and who did not got what. You didn't say anything, you were silent, and I needed to hear your voice to confirm that all these parties are my client. This client got this much and this client got this much. I didn't hear anything and I got disappointed. Then lastly, Honorable Pio, can we amend something around the affirmative action? Because I don't see the reason why we should nominate one woman 3 times when there are a million other women. Why can't we nominate one woman once, go get another seat elected, and other women get that nomination? Is it really reasoning to have one woman nominated 3 or 4 times in a political party?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope that our leaders have taken note of your questions.
Good evening. My name is Brando Odhiambo from Shofco. I lead governance and advocacy. A quick one, I won't speak on behalf of Shofco, but I'll speak on behalf of myself as a citizen of this nation, as a woman, and as a youth in this nation. My first question will be directed to Honorable Passaris in concern to the Finance Act and Accord 12-12-333-300 of the sanitary towels. The money allocated for the sanitary towels is 15 million towels, targeting 3.4 million girls for the financial year 2024-2025, which is inadequate as it equates to 1 sanitary towel per girl per quarter, which we understand that for us women, we have our menstrual cycle every month. One of my recommendations to that, and I'd love that you spread this to our fellow women representative at the National Assembly, if we can have an additional budgetary allocation for 30 million sanitary towels and provide a monetary figure in the budget for the allocated sanitary towels. If NGAF fails to supplement this figure, we'll have a reduction in the number of girls missing schools or experiencing exploitation, whereby it's sex for pads scenario. Another instance which I'll request maybe for amendment, though I know it will create a lot of tension and debate. Us as youth,